Hi there, Randy Green here, and welcome to another whole Changemaker Project Flash News podcast, where in this one, I'm going to address some of the things I'm offering here in 2023 and where you can find that material and what you can do with that material, and a little bit of what's going on in reality field right now, but not much because, and I'm sorry about the huffing and coughing. I've been doing that for the last 30 minutes, trying to get rid of it. I was stupid enough, or it was nice, but I went out both Sunday and Monday and went into the forest, which was a nice walk, and I enjoyed it very much. But there were chemtrailing going on yesterday, and I'm now paying the price with having a lot of stuff to clear out my lungs, and and clearly it will not let go easily. So I'll just have to continue talking and oiling my voice because I've been trying to cough it out, but it just keeps going on. So I'll just go up in energy and burn it off. And that leads into some of the things I want to talk about here, because there are actually more to it than just me huffing and coughing, which those of you who are doing my class material know. Whenever I get up, oil up, and get out of the base program and get into the future timelines, then there is this clearing out process that must take place, because we are just being submerged into what we could say the remaining types of energies of the fourth cycle that are under the three main groups that are here: the hybrid projects, the new Atlantis projects, the military projects, and the parallel universal matrix races that are mainly driven by what we call the transhuman agenda. And they're having their takeover and whatever they're doing with the remaining dynamics of the fourth cycle and the old version of the base program, the interactive simulation program, that were then transferred into the event program, that were then transferred into some of the matrix of change program. The event program were under the Arcturians, the matrix of change were under the Niburians. And both the Falcon grid and the Niburian grid the Apins are collapsing. So their projects are collapsing along with that one. So that means that whatever has been keeping our reality field as it is now, in some kind of artificial construction, mandala, change of reality, chemtrailing, nanobot insertion, painting blue, what have you, attempt to prolong the old type of fourth cycle so that these groups could develop their new types of humans with the hybrids that were aimed at going to Mars, the military projects to remain on our planet, and the hybrid neo-humans to go to the moon. So anyway, so this is not going as planned for any of them. So there's a little bit of pull out and coming in as always. So, but with that, again, those of us or those of you who've been with me for a while, you know that there are different dynamics. We need to know what's going on, but we don't need to give it more energy than necessary. So that's kind of what we call turn the other cheek. We know it's there. We're not turning the blind eye, but we are just saying we know it's there. There's a lot of noise. It's like living on a street where you have got this mansion with Hell's Angels or something, and they have their motorbikes and they are making a lot of noise, and the hyenas are in the street and what have you, because that's technically what they are. And you are annoyed by it. And at some point you will say, no, I'll leave this street because I don't want to be here. This is not a flirtatious environment for me to be in, because it keeps creating annoyment. It annoys. Sorry about that. It keeps annoying you. Nuisance, that's what the word was I was looking for. So this is where we just look into say, okay, the current environment where we are, if things are just getting too complicated, perhaps it's time to move. And that's what I want to address here. Because it's not just about moving into the future timelines of the fifth cycle or under what we call the future humans that have come back and traveled back and actually try to, via different insertions and different attempts to infiltrate actually the different main three projects to see if they could change them. And I have been absolutely drawn into some of these projects as well. I've been trying to clear and figure out what could be done and could it be repaired? Is there anything we could do here, and onward and so forth, which were part of my trip to Australia, working with some of the hybrid projects there, some of the work I've been doing in America as well, especially since 2013 until 2016 when I went to Australia. We're looking at the new Atlantis projects And some of the things that also took place there, continuing into 2018 and onward and so forth, all of that is covered in the perception logs. All of that is covered in my course material. The outcome of that, what we should do, the progression signs is under the original solar system races, under the ancient ones are covered in the progression work course material. So here in the Changemaker, I'm just wrapping up so we get ready for the 2025 timeline, where those of us here in 2023 that are shifting into becoming change makers are learning how to transform energy so that we can create that architecture that will lead us into the 2025 timeline. So whatever was going on with the event program, the matrix of change, were all tied to what's called the 2001 timeline. And the three different hybrids, New Atlantis and the POM races, the parallel universal matrix races, are connected to the 2001 timeline, and that leads into futures that none of us want to be part of. So that's the fourth cycle that is collapsing, or whatever they're doing. Every day now I'm seeing this kind of things are just not going in the manner that they would like, because their projects are not working well due to different things, both because of infights, but also because of they really doesn't know what truly is going on in this reality field, since the only ones that actually knew it were the New Atlantean projects, but the ones at the top of that one kept that as a secret. And the POM races are from parallel matrix, so they don't really belong here. They were part of the colonizing races, but they had their own projects. They're just completing these. And then we have the, what we call the hybrid groups that are the 1950s incoming groups from other systems. And they have very little understanding of what actually is going on here. They just saw it as an opportunity for them to continue their existence and their attempt to survive and not end up regressing further and further until they actually become part of the POM races and turn into different forms of not military, but they are military, but different types of machine world constructions, AI-driven transhumanism, cyborgs, what have you. So we're not going to do more about that, just observing that these are the three main groups that are left. And they will, of course, continue their shenanigans to try and pull us back into the 2001 timeline. Those of us who are now shifting into the 2004 timeline, which actually leads to some kind of future where humanity stands a chance and where we can do the transition. Others call it other stuff. Others see it in a different way. I call it shifting out of the fourth cycle, going into the fifth cycle of the original outer domain configuration under the original sun, under the original solar system dynamics. That is part of the future that we're going into. That's the one I work for, and I call it 2004 timeline because it has that program that began in 2004 and which run until 2025. 21 years of completion, where different steps, different programs were to be completed so that the architecture could be created inside this physical vessel, from where the molecular shift could begin to happen, so that we would align with the fifth cycle future technologies, fifth cycle future reality field networks and grids, as well as being fueled from the inside by the outer domain density 1 blue light sun that those of us who are on these projects, we are now clearly seeing, although we see the outer sun that is shedding off a lot of energy, as I talked about in the challenges from the sun course material on the randygreen.1 website, the Higher Order Systemic Energetic Awareness Forum website, where they talk about the shutting down of the sun, what are the implications, what is happening, the enormously active 25th solar cycle, the CMEs we almost have every day. And I've addressed that earlier on, because the sun is now literally collapsing all of its fields and will go into what's called a cold sun within the fourth cycle. And that's what leads to this very, very devastated cold future inside our solar system, as that type of sun we have there is shutting down. So with that, we are having the inner outer human dichotomy, where those of us who are shifting, we're shifting on the inside, not as much on the outside. And by that, that's where the Changemaker project comes in. And the material I made there is then, okay, how do you then live with that type of double awareness? As in, how do we then navigate as trying to live within the architecture and the energetic settings of the fifth cycle of the future, while we're still operational inside this reality, still have this physical form, and are still trying to create some type of businesses, some type of projects, which I call hybrid projects, but they have nothing to do with hybrids, but they are what we call a kind of project that goes with both profit, and I'm not going to call it non-profit, I actually call it non-payment, and then pro-payment, which means that some of it is paid for and other of it is not paid for. And I like to get out of the profit kind of thinking and say either people pay for it so that those of us who are making this material actually can pay our bills, because yes, it would be nice if you could get it all for free here on YouTube, but some of us actually have to pay our bills, and we have a rent to pay, and we need food on the table and onward and so forth. So thereby, some of it needs to be paid for. And that's after being here on YouTube since 2013, I've delivered so much free material. There are still the Systemic Energetic Awareness Forum, where you get other levels of free material. Has been here on the Changemaker, where I will not put so much in, because I want to here on this material that is as part of the Changemaker, that is the second pillar of the whole academy. The first pillar is the progression work. The second pillar here is the Changemaker. And the third pillar will be the forerunners of the 2025 timeline. I want to address these things in depth, and that is done in course materials, not done by random podcast here and there, where the full complex information system it's impossible to deliver it in these little catch-up podcasts that are suitable for YouTube. So in a way, as I've said many, many times before, which I've been working with for years, but it's not that I can completely abandon YouTube, so to speak, because that's where many of you that are getting acquainted with my material, you come by that social medias where people find each other, right, and find the new stuff that's going on out there. I know there are many other offers out there. I know there are many other platforms, and I'm not ruling out that I will not be part of these platforms. But right now, I would rather that those of you who are listening to this one, you begin to look into the whole academy on my website there. There's a lot of free material you can enjoy there. There's a lot of free course material of the older kind. It is not similar at all to the progression sciences. The progression sciences are the next step. The free material is just the baby steps. Then you go into the kindergarten or the advanced level with the progression sciences, pillar 1. Then we go into the Changemaker material in pillar 2, where you then learn to operate inside this reality field in the base program as everything's collapsing around us. What do you have of skill sets? That's the chaos pilot, the path cutter, the Changemaker skill sets that you need. What's the point of having these skill sets? What's the point of creating these projects? What's the point of having a business on our own, trying to earn some money, but not for profit, but just so that we have what we need to do, whatever that means, depending on the level of functionality and your abilities and what you're supposed to do inside this reality. And then going into here in 2023, where I run the Food, Health and Environment project, where I'm putting in podcasts and updates. And that's where I want to address that what I normally would do here on YouTube is now part of 2 update series that I'm running. One is running on the randygreen.1, the Higher Order Systemic Energetic Awareness Forum, where I work with what we call the systemic level. That means not necessarily the other races, because I can't really be bothered going much more into that. I talked a bit about it in, first and foremost, the changes of the sun course material, as well as in the changes, the new reality challenges and changes from the Stargates activation processes that are happening. These are 2 courses you can buy. There are the free material on the HOSE website. That is what I call it, Higher Order Systemic Energetic Awareness. I call it the HOSE, the randygreen.1. I'll put a link below where you can get the new reality challenges. That's free course material. That was the Niburian attempt with the matrix of change. Not that they succeeded, but there we really understand what are reality programs, how do they actually run this, and what was the event program in a way, because that was the same type of dynamic. It ran on the same ideas, although it was a different faction, and it didn't succeed, and it led to the collapse of the Falcon network. So we are having the old A-pins, they are collapsing, and they are being, the races that were part of these, they are taking off. And with that, the artificial reality we know of, and the artificial inner 4th dimension and the artificial inner 5th dimension, not the artificial 5th is still operational, but it will collapse eventually or go under the phantom matrix. So we are having these different groups that are keep trying to play out their programs and keep trying to play out their regenesis and rehabilitation and different types of restoring programs using humanity to do so. And they have not succeeded, and they will not succeed due to the changes of the sun, the collapse of the fields in the sun. I talk about that in the sun course material, as well as the stargates that are opening from the original density 1. And what does that mean for our inner architecture, holographic, energetic architecture? How can we operate and work with that so that we adjust to the outer domain original density 1 configuration? That's the reconfiguration material that will also be on the higher order systemic energetic awareness forum webpage, because there I'm working on the HOPE project, the higher order progressive energies, but also the higher order psychic energies. And what does it mean for those of us who are now on the 2004 timeline and are now completely reconfiguring our 3 lower fields so we can do the molecular shift, and by that begin to really connect to the inner realities of the future cycles that we are going to be part of once we shed off this physical form. So in the progression sciences, I work with to get into the restoration project under the old pillar project, under the old less progressive universal structure, the LPU that's been taken over by the Pomeraces, and all of these kind of things, and what that means to develop the higher order energy system. What does it mean to work with the psychic energy, the psychic processes, and how do we keep the psychic energetic balance, understanding the differences between opposition that is tied to the heart field and the polarity that is connected to the mind field, and how do we work with this horizontal that is the opposition versus the vertical that is the polarity. Even though you say, well, polarity is horizontal, right? No, it's not. Actually not. It's above and below, whereas the opposition is right and left, and that's the cross that is defining the 4th cycle. And how do you get out of that? By reconfiguring your higher order energy system to the original transformative energy system. And once you have done that, then you begin to arrange your life via the changemaker material, so you actually have an income, so you can run a type of business that still lives up to the criteria of being a progressive human. And then you can go into either as the forerunners of the 2025 timeline, which will then unfold in 2025. But in the meantime, you do the HOPE project where you reconfigure your 3 lower fields. And that's the high order systemic energetic angle to it, because the reconfiguration of the 3 lower fields will be an attempt to actually try and integrate some of the original density 1 configuration reality field dynamics into this one, so we become a systemic race again. So that's why I divided it into these 2 different kinds of projects, which you can say is a little bit annoying, but it has to be in its different boxes. And you will learn as you develop your expanded awareness why that is so important, that you understand that it works within pillars, because you work through different layers and different dimensions and different activity levels and activation potentials as you're working through the different pillars, meaning you upgrade your energy system to work your way out of the 4th cycle, get into the 5th cycle, and then work with the different pillars there, where you understand that the forerunner material eventually will completely be under the higher order systemic energetic awareness forum, so that the whole academy material, once I'm done in 2025 with the forerunner material, then that's the 3 pillars of the whole academy, and there will not be more than the 3 pillars of the whole academy, because that's connect to the base program. And then those of us who go part and become part of the HOPE project of the 5th cycle of the future, our entire focus will be on the inner work and on the challenges and on the steps that we need to do to create a future on our planet and in our solar system. And these are the new sciences that we will implement. These are the new mission statements we will get from the future. These are the new recalibration dynamics we will get once we shift our molecular state. And it's not about going into New Earth and 5D or whatever. These are part of the new Atlantean projects that runs in America, which I have nothing to do with, and I'm not interested in having anything to do with the Neo-Atlanteans and their old schemes going back to the old type of Atlantis and what they are trying to do here. So this this is something completely different. This is about the future of the future humans that survives the transition of the first run-throughs. So this is again understanding of not time travel, but Fermi bridges, how to work with the quantum bridges, how to work with these entanglement principles of past, present, and future, but not within the quantum fields. That's why they are coined the Fermi bridges in the future, because the Fermi Lab are the ones that already put that in. And I talk about that in the Stargate material as well. And I talk about that in the Changemaker material as well. Not that I'm going to go much more into these sciences, because it's enough just to mention it's there, because those of you who are on the 2004 timeline, you will get more and more information from within. So the 2023 food, health, and environment updates that I'm putting there, which you can subscribe to either for an entire year or just for a month, or for 3 months, you decide yourself, or you could do 1 month and then you can decide, no, I want to do the entire year. There you pay over subscription of 5 months. So that means in August, then that option will fall away. And then you can only do 1 month or 3 months. And then when we get further into the year, then there will only be 1 month. And then I will divide it into material that can then be bought as course material. But then the updates and what's going on and the shift and what you need to do as part of your project inside this reality as a change maker, trying to create a business or a project that will exemplify your architecture will then be what I've done in 2023, because that's the business part that I will then consolidate in 2023. And then as I assumed with the 2022 completion of the progression sciences, I will assume that you have the course material, you study on your own, and you do what you need to do following the general sciences there. And then the same with the change makers. I'm not going to do change maker material in 2024 or anything. And that's where this channel as well will be a kind of, yes, now we're doing the change maker in 2023, then it might have a different name in 2024. But technically, the Higher Order Systemic Energetic Awareness Forum has the higher or the Systemic Energetic Awareness, sorry about that, a YouTube channel where what I would put there would actually be uploaded on that channel. And then some of the new sciences of the 2025 timeline forerunner material will then be on my HAL Academy YouTube channel. So in a way, it feels as that might change, but right now it feels as this channel will then have this podcast here and then will go dormant for a while until it gets recalibrated and uplifted into the next segment of what it is supposed to become, whatever that means. And if there are ideas that might come up there, it might be part of the forerunner material in 2025. I don't know, but I just want to put in here so that you're not just getting stuck with this channel, that you should look into the other channels I have. You should look into my 2 websites where there are free material. I'll put more in there. This one has its Google site where a little bit is there, but that's mostly meant as a kind of advertisement, so to speak, where this is what it's about. And for those who are going there, I've made it this way in a way to avoid a little bit of all of this. Let me put it this way. There are multiple reasons why I made the Google site, but let's just say that that's linking to that one. But there you can go from that and into the HAL Academy, where you will then get the progression sciences and you will get some of the new sciences of the forerunner material, which I also made podcast here on this channel on the forerunner material, how it looked when I began seeding it in last year. But that will of course change as we get into 2025 and we do the final jump out of the timelines that are connected to the base program altogether, and then begin to operate on the future North Atlantic polar cap colony timelines that are then being seeded in from 2025 that will lead to the future humanities inside this solar system. So there's a lot of sciences, there's a lot of stuff that we need to learn. And as always, many of you are saying this is very difficult material, but this is where I say welcome to the future. This is those of us who are from the future. This is how we work. This is the reality we are part of. These are the sciences that we need to learn. Most of what you have learned so far and what you have been given so far were part of one of either the hybrid projects or the New Atlantis projects under the negative alien agenda, the military projects, promoting semi-actual and mostly distorted information, had not really anything to do with things as they were going on. The old spiritual programs were linked to the the old world order, colonizing races, not really interested in activating humanity, but still needed humanity to do clearing processes and self-healing so that the genetics were viable for trade, and onward and so forth. So this is a pretty bleak reality view I have, due to what I've experienced and what I have seen, and others see things differently. You might see things differently. So this is an alternative to what you find out there. And some of the older types of spiritual programs, including the chakra system, I have deconstructed that on the Systemic Energetic Awareness YouTube channel for free. I'm also working with past lives and how we can deal with past lives. And the reason why I put in these 6 podcasts are because they are bridging up to some of the course material I'm going to do as part of the HOPE project, where we redo our molecular state. And instead of putting that 4th cycle version into the reconfiguration and the clearing of the past life material in the under the HOPE project that will be on the 5th cycle dynamics and sciences, then I put it out for free, so everybody as part of the 4th cycle would get this is where we're going. The fields are collapsing. The sun is not what it used to be. The prana triangle is not working anymore. The Hara quadrants are collapsing. The TDs are collapsing. Everything that were part of the old world order is now in a complete free fall. And it is up to us to move beyond and begin to understand, well, what's the next step of our progression journey? What's the next step of what we need to do when we talk about upgrading our energy systems? On the High Order Systemic Energetic Awareness Forum website, I also got what's called High Order Systemic Energetic Updates, where I talk about some of the challenges with the new reality, with not much about the sun or the stargates, because they are in separate courses where I address that, but just on the everyday basis of some of the psychological processes that we have, because the Changemaker update on the food, health, and environment, they are going to look into how do we work with food under the outer domain configuration, and to assist our molecular structure to do the transition into the 5th cycle. How do we work with health as part of food and health and environment, and what does it mean in terms of the environment? And the environment is here not necessarily nature, can be, but environment is also our inner and outer environment. It's also the energetic environment. It's also the challenges of the environment of where we're doing our projects. There are many different angles to that, and that will unfold over 2023. So if you want to get the updates there on how to actually create either your own business that's covered in both the Changemaker material, the skill sets, but also in the toolkit, where I go in and look as much as possible into, okay, then how do you do your own business structure aside from what you can get out there as project management course material and upstart of your own business and onward and so forth, that are base program programs, right? They are toolkits that you can do other places, and I don't need to address that. There's so much information out there, so that's covered there. But the toolkit courses are from a double awareness perspective, as in, okay, we are operational inside the base program, but what do we need to look out for when we are actually working as part of a higher order system, where we have still got factions from other terrestrial systems and other extraterrestrial systems that are present, and extra systemic systems that are still present in our reality field. And what does that mean in terms of creating our own higher order types of businesses, where we're actually working with the 5th cycle consciousness structure and our architectural developmental processes, transforming energy using our own energetic architecture to do so within our business projects, within our payment or non-payment projects. So that's covered there. And then the food, health, and environment will just be the last pieces of the 2023 transformational processes, where those of us who are really working out of the 4th cycle, we will do that. So that's the Changemaker updates. And that will change as we go further into 2023. Whatever's needed there related to being humans inside the base program will be covered in the food, health, and environment updates, the Changemaker, or the whole project. alternate reality project. Sorry about that. The whole Changemaker alternate reality project, food, health, and environment updates that you can find on the whole Academy website, and that will be there. And then the HOSE updates, as I said, on the higher order systemic energetic awareness will be of the systemic level, as in, okay, we are then shifting out of the density 2, we're going into density 1, we're doing the molecular shift. What does that mean? What are the challenges there, psychologically speaking? What are the different steps we go through, going a little bit back into the fourth, going a little bit into the future, and some of the things that will be addressed while we are doing that. To some degree, because of course I can't cover all bases, but the sciences of the molecular transition and the reconfiguration will be in the HOPE material. So it's always about, these updates are about the processes similar to this one, where you can find different levels of information. So you understand there are sciences that are a part of this transition process that we need to understand. These are the new studies that we need to do. And then that's the self-study material. And then there are the processes of the psychodynamic processes, not just the sciences, but the psychodynamic processes where we adapt as human beings, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, what have you. And then there are the biological processes where we're also adapting physically to the changes of our reality. And at the same time, we also need to address that we have to earn our money. We have to be part of the society somehow. And how do we deal with that? The more base program approaches to the psychological processes are actually covered in most of the free material you can get for free on the whole Academy website when you begin the progression sciences, as well as in the Future Human project, where I cover some of the psychological dynamics on what we call a base program level. But in the progression sciences, you go into the higher order understanding of the psychological, psychodynamic processes as energy, where you work with that to reconfigure your energy system into the transformative energy system, where you understand the psychological processes are actually the foundation of how to work with energy in a higher order, more systematic way. And I'm not here talking about the systemic way as in the solar system, reality system, but systematic as in how can you actually upgrade your energy system when you understand the molecular processes of your biology and you understand the emotional processes of the 9 layers of your emotional field, and you understand the mental processes of your 5-layered mental field, and how do you work with that? And that's also part of some of the newer levels of the reconfiguration. So when you work with my material, you have the free material, that's kind of base program psychodynamics. You have the advanced level in progression sciences. And then in the HOPE material, we'll go into the 5th cycle approach, which means I'm constantly creating new levels of sciences and new levels of understanding how to work with this. And it is difficult material. But as always, I'm not just doing this because it's something that is just out of the blue or it's just for fun. It actually has a greater purpose, at least in my opinion. And with the future humans I'm working with and where I come from, being part, remembering, actually have a version of me in the future in the North Cap colonies. That's the short version of it. So just putting things in context here alongside with past versions of myself as the Pillar Project, which I talk about in the progression sciences and the perception logs and what that means and taking that down and creating a new version of it and all of these different levels that it means to have an expanded awareness. It's not just one thing. We are these, that's part of the cross as well. We are in the past, present, and the future, and we are doing the opposition between the past, present, and the future, upgrading our heart field and our vibrational field to run on the correct vibrational resonance, harmonic types of energies that goes with sound fields that are vibrating in the correct manner so that we can do the vertical polarity where we learn to work with light codes, where we learn to transform light codes, when we learn to embed the light codes into the sound field, so we create the resonance fields there, so we can connect to the stargate systems and the different inbuilt gate systems of our reality field and in our own architectural energy system, aligning our true architecture with the outer architecture of our reality field, and then really become interconnected back into the worlds that we used to be part of. And from that, connect to higher order sciences, new type of technologies, and new ways of being human. So below this little update podcast here, which will be what I will put out here, because what I could say of news, what I could say of things that are important would either be in the host updates or it will be in the Changemaker updates. Changemaker updates are base program stuff with the projects that we have. What does that mean in our everyday lives? Working with the new cycle, the new energies on the 2004 to 2020-25 timeline. How do we arrange ourselves in that manner? The psychological processes of developing a systemic awareness that goes into the higher order progressive energies that works with the reconfiguration of the fifth cycle of the next lives of whatever we're going to be will be part of the host material, including the other races that are here. Not that I'm going into the ones that are part of the fourth cycle, but we'll look into some of the ones that we will get acquainted with as part of the future and what they are going, because they will be more prominently felt for those of us who are entering into the fifth cycle and the future of this system, where we will begin to see there are different rules of engagement, there are different principles at play. We are still following the original principles of our solar system, but they are adjusted in different ways because we are here working with different reality dynamics, different kind of racial rules of engagement setup that we are accustomed to as part of the fourth cycle and onward and so forth. And that will, of course, bridge back into our Changemaker project. So for those of you who've done, you signed up for the Changemaker project update and think that that suffices, I would say actually not. You need to do that and the host, but of course I can't force you to do so. And you will say, why can't you just do it in one? Because it has to be in the different pillars, because we're working with different types of energies. We're working with the present type of energy in the Changemaker project and what we're doing now. And then the host projects, we're working with who we will become. And these are two different things. So they can't be in the same updates. And this is again a little bit where you understand what type of energy work are you doing, as I also explain in the progression sciences, where we understand, well, some of the things we work horizontally, other stuff we work vertically. Some of it is biologically, some of it is emotional, some of it is mental, some is higher order energy system, and onward and so forth. And you need to know exactly on which level you're working and how to work on these different levels. Hence, different boxes, different pillars, different teaching systems, and different approaches and different outcomes. Different types of energies, different types of consciousness. So with that little update here, welcome to 2023, and I hope to see you sign up for the Changemaker updates or the higher order systemic energetic updates, where you will get different approaches to things. I hope to see some of you in my course material, the progression sciences, do the free material and go into the progression sciences. I know it's a lot to study. So this is why I say it's a lifestyle, higher awareness lifestyle. This is not to be done in 2 weeks. This is about getting on board, being a complete new type of human, doing self-study, doing a lot of different works, following with the whole project Blue Flower, where you understand it's all about nutrition, it's about exercise, it's about work, it's about psychology, it's about education, it's about who you are as a human, it's about the progression sciences, it's about the extra-systemic races, it's about the extraterrestrial races, it's about a lot of stuff, and that's the future humanity. That's what we work with. That's what we understand. You're leaving the base program, the old world order setup, the narrowed down, semi-artificial constructed spirituality that led to nowhere, the understandings of the old types of dynamics that were under the old recycling, reseeded fourth cycle races that failed in Atlantis and tried to do a do-over again in the fourth cycle. All of that is part of the spiritual sciences. They have not succeeded. It has led to artificial worlds under androids and transhumanism. It has led to dark worlds under the newer Neo-Atlanteans, and it has led to hybrid projects of different groups that are now regressing to such a degree that they eventually will become androids. So all of this old stuff has not succeeded. It has all failed. It is a group of projects all failed. So we need to think differently. We need to do differently. We need to progress differently, and we need to expand differently. And one of the ways to do that, that's the higher order sciences, the true understanding, the complex understanding, not the true, but the complex understanding of reality and how you navigate in that and how you actually build your energy system. And that was part of the original Pillar project before it was hijacked and downsized into the spiritual programs that most of you are acquainted with. So with that little speech here, This channel will not be highly active. If you want more fresh material, that's the Systemic Energetic Awareness Forum, where I'll put more there, because that's what the time is here. The rest of what I normally put here on the Changemaker channel will be in the updates. The higher order systemic energetic awareness updates will deal with psychological processes I don't find suitable to put out on YouTube. So there is a little bit of prelude on the YouTube channel, which you will get there. And then the 2025 material, the Forerunner Sciences, will both be in that pillar, but there will also be HAL Academy YouTube channel, where I'll begin to come in with some of, I don't know what it is yet. I just got the heads up that will be necessary to seed it into the collective, because that's what these channels are for. They are to seed it in as a collective idea, and then the specifics and the deeper details, the deeper levels, the more complex information systems and sciences are then giving in the course material. So you begin the studies with the free material, get a feeling of what it is, and then you decide, you do the correct commitment. That's principle 7, where you then decide this is where you want to go. These are the sciences you want to study, because these sciences will lead you to how to work with your energy system in a more fifth cycle oriented way as part of the future humanities. Many of you will choose to go other avenues and choose other systems that will do energy systems or teaching systems that will work with your energy system in different ways. And it's all up to you. This is where we are. We are choosing what we feel resonates with us, and we are going down the pathways and the avenues that we feel are most suitable for us. And sometimes we discover along the way that were not the right ones, and then we course correct, and then we get back on track and figure out what is then right for us. It might not be now, it might be later on, but at least you will have the free material to get back on board with. It will be there, it will remain there, and then you can get back on track, and perhaps later on, when you have something else to compare with, then figure out, well, perhaps this was actually the right avenue for you, but it just felt too complicated, it felt too complex, and thereby you gave up on it. But I can only recommend that you get yourself back on track, and you do that strength exercise where you decide, yes, it is complicated. Yes, it is difficult, but perhaps it's actually worth it. So with that one said, take care. And as always, you know where to find me, HAL Academy or the randygreen.one website. I'm continuously dedicated to put out material that will upgrade, develop humanity to the abilities where they can make legit, empowered choices, where they can stand sovereign in their own rights, not depending on a god or a source or other living beings, but themselves entirely. From there, shine their light. From there, change the world. Because they changed themselves, they have walked the path, they have exemplified it, they have become the role models of what we can become, and by that will influence our reality from that level of higher order sciences, higher order understandings, higher order energetic, dynamic processes, as well as transformational processes that always lead for the highest purity rate, the highest standards, and the highest progression rate, from where the outcome will always be to secure a future of this reality field, as well as the best possible futures for all life forms. Thank you.